Welcome back to Doing 180 at 60. I'm author John Raymond Takacs, back with my guests on our very last segment of our show, which is also the very last segment of a triathlon. We're going to talk about running. Now, running is, for me, the hardest thing in the world, honestly. It's just gotten to be where it used to be my best sport, now it's my worst. And now as I tell you that, on Sunday, I'm signed up to do the California International Marathon in Sacramento, 26.2 miles. So here I am going out fresh to do a 26.2 mile marathon. But Judge, tell me about a triathlon.
Well, the ranges obviously are from 3 miles up to marathons. I've experienced all of them. I've raced approximately 10 marathons and 2 Ironmans and a lot of sprints. So the way you train for them are different, obviously. The shorter distances, you might throw in a lot of speed work, which would be what they call fartleks, where you might do a lap on the track as fast as you can and then jog a lap, and then do 2 laps as fast as you can and then jog 2. Whereas if you're doing longer races, such as a marathon, you typically will do maybe 1 day of race pace and 1 day of over distance, and so you adjust accordingly. Most of the time preparing for a marathon, I would run a minimum of about 40 miles a week. This year, preparing for Kona, I got up to about 35 miles an hour, or 35 miles this week. I wish I ran 35 miles an hour. I committed the ultimate sin this year running, and that is I went from not running at all to bumping up to 20 miles a week within about 2 weeks, and going up to 30. And by June, I was barely walking, and I had to take 3 weeks off. So I didn't listen to my body and my experience. I thought I could do it.
So, folks, let me just tell you one thing. If you're not catching this, he already swam 2.4 miles. He's already rode his bicycle, cycling, that's it, bicycle, 112 miles.
Correct.
And so that's probably about, what, 10 hours or so?
I was about 9, I guess.
Yeah, 9 hours. He already did 9 hours of really hard physical exercise, and now he gets to run a marathon.
Yeah.
Tell me about mentally how that works in your head. I mean, do you...
Well, I guess I can explain it a couple ways. When I first got hurt, what got me into triathlons was in 1982, I'm watching the Ironman. And I watch Julie Moss, for those of you who didn't know. And she was winning the race, and she had been leading the race the whole day for women. And she gets within about 150 yards of the finish line, and she collapses.
Yes, I've seen that.
And she starts crawling to the finish line, and they go in, and she's not allowed to be helped because she'll get disqualified.
Right. No one can help you in a triathlon.
So she's staring at the finish line, and she's actually crawling, and then she'd fall. And then she'd get up, and she'd crawl, and she'd fall. And then she'd get passed. And then she got passed by another person. And she kept focusing and being determined. And what I saw in her face was something I had felt after I got injured, and that is that you have to make a choice. Are you going to give this your best? Are you going to complete your task? Are you going to reach a goal? Or are you going to quit? And that's the day I decided that I was going to do a triathlon. I'm going to be able to do that. About 2 years ago, I'm with my boys in Hawaii on vacation, and the Ironman happened to be happening. And that was just by coincidence. My wife might think I was a setup, but it really wasn't if she's watching. And I'm explaining to my boys that each one of these people are struggling. It doesn't matter if they're the pro, it doesn't matter if they're the last person on that course. At some point on that course, they're struggling. They've also struggled to get there. There's been a lot of sacrifice, a lot of effort, and a lot of pain to get to where they are. And you can say that to someone, but unless they watch it happen from the beginning, I felt like they didn't understand. So that was my reason for wanting to do it again, so my boys could actually see what I meant by that, and watch me struggle, watch me suffer, watch me be structured, watch me be committed to something, and ultimately obtain that. Throughout the whole race, you struggle with yourself.
That's right.
And this year, it was difficult on me from the get-go, and I don't know why. Maybe I just don't know. I mean, the swim was hard on me this year. The currents were strong, the waves were big. The wind was hard on the race course this year. I got a thunderstorm going at the halfway point with about 35-mile-an-hour winds. The bike took me about an hour longer than it should have because I struggled quite a bit. And so by the time I hit the run,
Yeah.
you've already been to places you haven't been in a long time. And then on the run, it seems so daunting. So you break it down into segments. You say, okay, I'm going to make 5 miles. I'm going to run to the 5-mile marker. And then when you get to the 5-mile marker, you go, okay, I'm going to run to the 7-mile marker. And you go to the 7. And you keep breaking it down into little segments to the point where when it's pitch black out there and you're out in the middle of this lava field and you can't see anybody else around you, you're saying, okay, I'm going to run for the next 30 seconds. And then I'm going to run for the next 30 seconds. And you keep doing that over and over. But you have to keep focused that the goal, the pain, the suffering is all worth it, because you're completing what you set out to do. And that's really what keeps you going. And I thought about my wife. I mean, she's allowed me, she really was very unselfish. And this sport is a selfish sport.
It is very much selfish.
And my boys, my biggest deal in life is to be a good dad and a good husband. And they allowed me to kind of set that aside for 6 months and focus on myself.
Sure.
And so a lot of my focus during that run segment was on making it worth it to them. Yes. That was for them and for me. And so I wanted to make it worth it.
When I'm doing the training, and I want to bring that back up to you, because a lot of people don't understand about the time commitment. And if I was to tell you that I train about 16 hours a week toward the end of the triathlon training, people would say, well, 16 hours, that's not very much. What's that, 3 hours a day? Well, it doesn't quite work that way, because there's a long bicycle ride somewhere every week. And that bicycle ride is at least 6 hours for me. And so you have to put that in, and then you can't there's some specifics, like you cannot do a hard run and then do a hard bike or a hard swim. You kind of have to give your body a chance to rest a little bit, at least a day, but you still need to train.
Right.
Because it's all coming, everything's still coming. And so there's a real art to this training that you have to do. And it's interesting because we've talked about swim, bike, and run. We've also talked about diet. You just brought up the biggest part of triathlon, huge part, and that's your mental state. If you're not in tune up here, it doesn't matter about all the rest of that stuff, because it'll get hard. It'll get tiring. Your body will say, man, I've had it here, dude. Let me out of here. And it's like, I love your technique. That's what I do. I lie to myself.
Yeah.
I say, okay, well, we'll rest when we get up here to the 5-mile marker.
Exactly.
And I get there, and then I just kind of, oh, hey, we're okay. Let's keep going now. And I just keep doing that all the way through. Very interesting technique. Your family, my family, the same thing. If you don't have support at home, you can't do this. You really can't, can you?
No. Oh, absolutely not. It is, like I said, it's a very selfish sport, because it takes so much time and so much effort. And, that 16 hours sounds great, but you're also exhausted, so you go to bed.
That's right.
And you're getting up before everybody else. And a lot of times you can't eat dinner when they are, because you're not eating dinner till late at night, till after you've trained. So it requires a lot of sacrifice on the part of yourself, but also on your family, and a willingness to be involved in it together for the end goal. And that is probably, when people have asked me what was the hardest part of training, it was dealing with not neglecting your family, going to work,
Yes.
and still being mentally strong to finish that goal. That was the hardest part. So, on the run, you're closer to your goal, and you just keep telling yourself, every step, I'm one step closer to that finish line, and there is nothing.
The last thing I want to do really quick here, because we're kind of running out of time here in a little bit. We got 2 or 3 minutes left. They tell me, and I know this for a fact is true, that completing an Ironman will change your life. Absolutely. Everybody says it. It will change your life. However, you're never sure how it's going to change your life until afterwards and in retrospect. Did you notice a change?
I did after the first one. You're not as afraid to challenge yourself in many ways. You're more willing to take a risk to complete a goal, even knowing that failure is an option.
Failure is an option.
And no, I should rephrase that. Failure is not an option. Failure is a possibility.
It is.
And you don't accept failure as the option that you go to. It teaches you to focus. It teaches you to really be able to focus and reach a goal. And that's how it changes you. You have to dig. I don't care if you're the best athlete out there or the worst. Everybody hits a point in that race where they are at the bottom, where they don't believe they can keep going another step, where they don't know if it's worth it, and they have to overcome that.
Very good. Josh, I want to bring you back into this. Did you learn anything? I sure learned some stuff.
It's great to hear all of his experience.
Tell me once again about what's happening tomorrow.
So we have the indoor tri going on tomorrow. Raise money for a swim scholarship. It's a 10-minute swim, 30-minute bike, 20-minute run. $30 to participate. Get a nice little jazzy T-shirt like this. It's fun.
I really recommend, if you're really curious about how this stuff works, I recommend you go do this. This is like opening the door. It's sticking the key in and turning it and opening the door. And I promise you're going to be shocked at how cool it really is. It's a great sport. You know, one of the reasons that I've written 180 at 60, doing a 180 at 60, is to get you out there in television land off of your rear ends and to exercise and work out and do things again. Now, I'm not talking about you don't have to go out and do an Ironman. I'm talking about going out and doing yoga or a dance class, bowling, golf. There's so many different things that you can go out and redo and get your life going again. Just because you get older, it doesn't end there. Life is here, and it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Thank you both for coming in today,
Our
Judge.
pleasure. Thank you.
And Josh, thank you for being here. Doing a 180 at 60. Do it.